guys showed up today and came out to get some good energy, good vibes, and some principles, learn some principles that are going to help you in your life. So I just want to start by saying this is my passion, what I do, teaching people and helping guide people so that they can find a happy, harmonious life and really get the blessings that come in the now in life. You know, so many times we're projecting things from the past onto our present and just like ruining our beautiful artwork that's, you know, threaded with the divine. And then we also do it forward into the future. And so the Buddhists taught many principles and lessons that can help be like a guidebook for actually getting yourself in alignment with the now, to where you can actually leave the disappointment, the dissatisfaction, which is called dukkha in the Buddhist teachings, which a lot of people translate as suffering, but it's kind of on a scale. It could be major suffering or it could just be a dislike. But the way that we avoid that is a part of the principles of the Buddhist teaching. The way that we can really just accept what we're experiencing as divine for our path. And so that is why we're here today, because I want to share those with you. So yes, thank you so much for coming. All right, so I put in some good effort here, getting this whole thing rolling, and it's okay because I learned how to do it. The girls taught me exactly how to do it when they helped me. All right, so who is the Buddha? So we're going to go into that a little bit, and then after I play this little short clip, we'll talk about it a little bit.
The Buddha was a philosopher, mediator, spiritual teacher, and religious leader who is credited as the founder of Buddhism. He was born as Siddhartha Gautama in India in 566 BC into an aristocratic family, and when he was 29 years old, he left the comforts of his home to seek the meaning of the suffering he saw around him. After 6 years of arduous yogic training, he abandoned the way of self-mortification and instead sat in mindful meditation beneath a Bodhi tree.
Okay, so we're going to stop right here for a second. The self-mortification. So the Buddha, he was very sheltered. There was a prophecy, of course, he was the son of a ruler, and there was a prophecy that his father heard about that said, hey, by the way, your son's not going to follow in your footsteps as the ruler of the people in such a way, he's going to be a spiritual teacher. And so the father did everything he could to shield him from death, ugliness, people that were poor. So basically, he just cleaned house, fired everybody in the palace that didn't fit a perfect standard, and basically everybody in the palace was kind of playing kind of like a role to keep him feeling like the world's just perfect, so he doesn't need to fix anything, right? But that didn't work out very well because at age 29, he actually was able to get outdoors. I guess I'm sure he had to just keep at his dad for a long time for it to take 29 years. But finally he was out amongst the people and got to see that, wow, he saw an old person that blew his mind. He'd never seen, you know, people, you know, dying or poverty or anything like that. So this became something very important for him to go out and continue to experience and figure out what is the truth here. He was already feeling very like sad. He had everything, but he just was not happy. And so on the third trip out, it didn't take him very long, he saw an old monk plowing a field, and the guy could barely even, like, he was hunchback, he couldn't even stand up straight or whatever, but he just exuded this light and happiness. And so that's when he said, look, this is what I want. So he basically just jumped out of the carriage and never looked back. So he followed the monk to his home and said, you know, show me what you're doing. I want this. This is what I want. And so he began to pretty much starve himself, like, and meditate for many, many hours and fast for super long amounts of time. And he just found I'm not feeling any more enlightened. I'm feeling tired and not very much energy. So that this way is not working for me. And so he went out under a tree and sat there in contemplation for a while on his own, but not necessarily in a deep shut everything out meditation. He meditated on the birds, on the trees, just being in the now. And so that is when he discovered, he was like, okay, this extreme is not good, the extreme aspect of anything. And so he came to a lot of realizations that the middle path was the way. So not being super poor and like depriving yourself of everything, but not being too much in luxury and being spoiled where you don't appreciate things. So he found some principles that he fought with himself a little bit about, like, people aren't going to get this. They might not understand what I'm talking about. You know, I might lose this precious feeling I have right now if I try to share it with other people that don't understand. So he really battled himself of whether or not this was something that he was feeling to share and teach with people. But then he just knew, with a little help from some divine friends, he knew that this was what he was supposed to do, is share these principles that he had discovered. So there's 4 of these major principles, and we're going to get a little more into that now. Okay, so the 4 noble truths.
Number 1, practice the middle way. The Buddha says, the root of suffering is desire. Siddhartha Gautama spent the rest of his life reflecting on the 4 noble truths. 1, there is suffering. 2, the cause of suffering is our desires. 3, the solution to our suffering, then, is to release ourselves from our desires. And 4, the noble eightfold path that leads us to our release from suffering.
Okay.
Number 1.
So, desires, right? I mean, who can get away from, like, having some wants and stuff in life? So, as we move through this journey together, we're going to talk about a lot of things that will help you realize that it's not necessarily not desiring things, it is being okay with your path and the divine and what's happening now, whatever that is. Not wanting to get rid of it because you want this, but to accept and receive what it is in the moment, because when you do get in alignment with your path, you can guarantee the things that are happening in the now, in your path, are for your highest good. So anything that gets you out of that is going to be not good for you, right? So projecting, wanting what happened yesterday to happen again today, you're never going to have the same situation twice. It could be the same people, the same place, and still yet, it's a new experience. And so like a child, you know, every time they play with their toys, you know, it's a whole new experience, right? But as we grow up and everything, we're like, oh, you know, it's got to be this way. We just have so many expectations of things, and that expectation comes from projecting our past back onto it. So we want to recreate that. So one way to resolve that is to really get in the zone where you're fine, you're good with what's going on, even if it might not be exactly how you thought, but that's the whole thing. That's where that disappointment comes in, right? Getting rid of the how you thought part and accepting it for what it is, because what we will find is that it is truly a blessing when we stop ruining our artwork, you know, our divine tapestry that we're, you know, a part of in that moment of now. And so when we stop projecting and stop desiring for this to be a certain way, way and we accept it as it is, that's where the beauty is. That's where the harmony is. That's where the guidance is. That's where our blessings are. So when we can, and I'm really just trying to dissect something that is, you know, a little more difficult, and just make it really simple, because it is something that if you implement this into your life, it can really make a huge difference on how you experience your reality. And that awareness, like, once you get it, nobody can take that back from you. It's not like, so another thing about Buddhism is the cycles, reincarnation, the death and the rebirth. So essentially, when you haven't completed a certain part of your lesson in one lifetime, of course, it's not like, okay, you failed. You're going to go back and for another round, and whatever you missed out on, right, you've got another opportunity. But the way to end that cycle is also in this path. It is part of the principles that we're talking about, and the stepping stones to get you there to enlightenment. And that's when you no longer are going through those cycles. You essentially got what nobody can take from you. And so at that point, it's all about, you know, teaching and sharing, and it's in your light as well. Like, you don't have to say a word. People will feel it, they see it. But enlightenment's not just like something, boom, it's a process that continues forever. And you just, you know, more and more, your consciousness expands. But so that's kind of the basis here. So we'll get back to it. I'm going to have to reset. It's all good. We can do this. So the Four Noble Truths. Okay. So I got to get it connected back again. Learn something new every day. Just the next thing I'm going to learn is how to keep my phone from timing out like that. All right, I think we're good here. We'll give this a minute, and I've got some other stuff to share with you. So, the Buddha taught in 3 different levels. So if you can think of like a stoop, does everybody know what a stoop is? It's like stair steps. Generally, there's like 3 of them. That's what you call a stoop. You'll hear it more in like big cities and stuff, you know, where they've got like the apartment buildings and the 3 little steps that lead up to like the house. But the stoop, so you've got kind of the foundation step, and then the next one up, and then the pinnacle, the top. So if you can kind of think about that, about the way that the Buddha taught in kind of a stoop type of setting. So the purpose was live happier and live in the here and now. That was something major. And then how to lay down the causes of suffering so that we could be in nirvana. So nirvana is kind of like the freedom from that. That's what you get when you come into that. It's not a cause, or it's just a result of the awareness that you come into when you start practicing these certain principles. And then also the ending the suffering now, but then also to cease to have that in future lives. So you could be in nirvana and maybe not quite reach enlightenment in a life, so you could start to experience it, but it's something that continually builds and grows within you. But yes, every single one of us can reach enlightenment within, from birth to death. In one life cycle, you can reach enlightenment and stop the process of the cycle of rebirth and death and birth, which just keeps going and going until we get what we came here to be aware of. You know, we're all divine creators, And so, if you think about it, like from like almost like a parent perspective, if your child kept doing the same old stuff over and over and over, you know, and you could let them go through a few things to learn on their own versus just fixing everything for them. Like, wouldn't that be better to let them come into that awareness on their own as like a good, loving parent? Kind of the same. We're family. We're all in this together, but so the suffering is never meant for like to be mean. It's guiding us to figure it out for ourselves, and I'm getting chill bumps. To figure it out for ourselves, to really be in a state that no environmental situation can take from you. And that's yours forever when you come back into remembering who you are and that we are here for a purpose and a reason. And it is to come into enlightenment so that we can get back to being responsible creators. So, like, it's a lot of power. And, you know, a lot of responsibility comes with that. So, of course, we have to go through certain things so that we can remember that. So number 3 thing would be to enable us to obtain the state of enlightenment, which is an ultimate goal in life in Buddhism, which brings an end to the cycle of death and rebirth. So when you're kind of like in the nirvana aspect of it, you're already into enlightenment, but there's it just keeps going. There's a process with it. But like I said, there is a point where you just can't be tricked anymore. You can't be fooled. So these games, these things, these teachings are not meant to be for you. You're now the teacher. So it's a shift. And so not to say that you won't ever have any effect on the earthly world again. You may decide to come back as, you know, whatever you want is the thing. Whatever you want, but it won't be to come and learn those lessons because you've already learned them. So, think about these stoops again. So there's a couple words, and so the language that the Buddhas speak, the original Buddha, was Pali, P-A-L-I, and so there's a few words that I want to share with you that kind of define the things that we just talked about, and I may not say them exactly the way everyone else says them, and that's perfect for me. I don't mind. Panya, which is wisdom, okay? And then there's Sila, which is ethnical conduct, and then Samadhi. You've probably heard of that, right? Mm-hmm. No? That's okay. Until I heard of it, I didn't hear it before either. So now you've heard it. Now you've heard of it. So what it means is concentration. So like, think of it, you were like really into meditation, and you come to these like really profound moments of that would be taking your meditation and arriving at a state of samadhi. So it's like super strong, focused concentration. All right, so in the stooping though, the way I said them, the way I read them out, they're not quite in order. So the path begins with sila, which is getting control of your bodily actions. So first of all, think of it like this, like what you verbally say to people or what you do, you don't want to cause harm to other people, like not with intention. You don't want to have an intent to cause harm or say mean things. So that's kind of like the first process of like going up these 3 stoops to that pinnacle.
Still Sila.
Sila, and so the way that I have it on here is a way to pronounce it properly. So the actual spelling, but it's Sila. I spell it S-E-L-E-H or A-H. S-E-L-E-H. Sila.
Okay.
Just so to help you see how I'm saying it. So ethnical. So Sila is the path begins there. So first, being aware of how you just let that tongue fly out at people and your actions. So once you get there, You know, the second step would be samadhi, which would be focusing your attention more and being able to quiet your mind and get into an inner place. That would be the second step, and then the third would be panya, which is panya would be about, let me see, panya is the wisdom. So first, being aware, and then changing any actions. If you find that you're, you know, once a week you might say something that you're like, oh, I probably should have said that, or you know, maybe shouldn't have done that. But when you really start to focus your attention on that, and then you see that change, and then after a while, you know, technically after 21 days of doing something repetitively, you're gonna get pretty good, and it's gonna become second nature where you don't have to think and remind yourself. So it just doesn't take a whole lot. You just have to care. So correcting any of those things that leave you going home being like, I don't know, because no matter what we do out or whatever, we're carrying some of that energy back. It might, in the moment, feel good to tell somebody off or whatever, but if you come back later in your head and you're like, oh, I don't know, maybe I went a little too far, it's hurting you as well. You see that, so it's in your head and it's in your energy. So, but first, you know, work on that. So make sure that we're aware of our actions and what we're doing and trying to keep them in check. And then, you know, ethical, so basically good behavior. Let's just make it simple there. And then samadhi with the concentration. So good thinking too. So I used the example of meditation, right? Well, we also have to do, like, what are you telling yourself when you're just walking around and stuff? What are those thoughts that are coming into your head about who you are, about like the world, about what's gonna happen to you? Being a good steward of your thoughts. And now here we come again into a whole nother process, right? So first we're watching our actions. Now we gotta like watch what we're thinking and the story that we're telling ourselves and stuff. And so once we can get that under control, start making our thoughts more pure, in alignment with the energy that we're seeking to be in, which is happiness, and you know, gaining a larger perspective on, you know, what the heck we're even here for. So you know, keeping that in check, because your mind will take you a lot of places that are very wounding, a lot of suffering. If you tell yourself negative stories and you know, even experiences that have happened to you, it might not have been very pleasant, but if we tell ourselves the worst story about it, instead of trying to find something that we might have grown from, or something that maybe helped us, or later down the road we can look back and be like, oh, I wouldn't have gotten that job had I not lost this one, and this one's more in alignment with what I want. So yeah, that's all. That's by faith, right? It's by faith that when we get our thoughts in alignment, law of attraction is going to bring the vibration of that to us, right? So if we're thinking lowly, we're thinking negative stuff that's going to happen to us, we're just like inviting it in. Essentially, the divine, with your free will, wants to give you, is going to give you what you are focusing your attention on. So if you're focusing your attention in a negative aspect, you're basically saying to the divine that those are the experiences you need more of. But when you shift your awareness and your attention and you start focusing, no, it doesn't matter what is happening around you, but if you shift your attention, your focus on higher vibrational things, and you know, have that in your energy, then of course that's going to make that shift for you and bring things in that way for you. And so then a little bit more about the third stoop, and I've kind of lost my place, so let me find it here. It's okay. Okay, so yeah, right. So the last is the wisdom. Okay, so keeping your actions, where you're fine with what you're doing, you're okay with who you are. You're like, I did it. I'm fine with it. I know I had a pure intention. My thoughts are good. It's not like I was being haunted by some of the stories I was telling myself, so then I reacted. You see how like they kind of go together? Because if you're telling yourself negative stuff, you're expecting negative stuff, and then one person steps on your toe, they didn't mean to, but you don't care. You just at them kind of thing. So you see how that kind of goes together. So when you are able to balance those two things, that's when you really are in a place where you can start receiving some divine wisdom. And that's all about keeping those thoughts pure. And that's when it's a good garden for those higher divine thoughts to come in and to arise within you. And that's where we really start to expand our consciousness, and really we start channeling things that we didn't even know that we knew, but we're like, oh yeah, I know that. Like, I don't know how I know that, but I know that. So it is a process to get there, but just remember, we got to set that foundation. If you don't have a solid foundation, so what you're doing out, we can call it karma, what you're doing out and putting out essentially is what you're going to be expecting to get back. It's not like that's the reason why, because you expect it because you did it, so you're like looking over your shoulder kind of waiting to happen. It's not like they're like, oh, they did this, now we're going to get you back. No, it's because you are thinking you're waiting for it to happen back to you. So that's why it's of course it's just kind, but that's one of the side effects from doing nasty things to people. Now you're waiting for it to come back on you. So, all right, and then I do want to say something before we go into the next part about there's a path, there's like a wheel, and there's 8 different kind of steps to it, and if you align all these steps together, and you're able to kind of like flow in that energy and have kind of mastered the art of being in these 8 steps, you will receive enlightenment. You will become enlightened. As long as you can do these things, you're gonna, like, life will change for you. So, and when we're talking about so you'll see in the wheel, it'll be like right speech. Well, the word right, when it comes up in the wheel, if you can think of it rather than right or wrong, if you'll think of it more as pure, like in alignment with, versus being like good or bad. So, and we're going to move on. Okay, let's see. I have to pull it back up again. I think you guys can hear this for now, and then once I play this one, I will let you. Wait, cool.
Right view means the ability to see through the deluded words and actions of yourself and others. As today, so too in old times, what culture celebrates as virtue and success is usually flaw and failure in disguise. No amount of material wealth, productivity, or pleasure can rid you of dukkha. In fact, these things have a delayed effect, creating even more dukkha. To see this requires wisdom, and it is a right view. Right intention requires right view. Only after you see things as they really are can you create for yourself the right kind of goals. The Buddha saw that man is sick with endless thirst and dukkha, and so the best intention is to try to cure yourself and others from this illness. Once you see things,
I'm gonna pause for a second. So dukkha, suffering, aka just not liking it. Doesn't have to be complete suffering. And then thirst is craving, desires, different things, craving things and not being pleased and happy with your now. Always craving something else. You know, you get a new car, and then a week later, all of a sudden you see somebody else's new car, and now you want that one. You know, instead of just enjoying this car that you got blessed with. Exactly. So I just wanted to clarify that as
they are and have the right intentions, the way you speak, act, and live are calibrated to lead you out of the labyrinth of thirst and dukkha. And then we arrive at the final three branches of the path, which are a bit more technical. A lot of people, myself included, believe you can only go so far in your understanding of Buddhism without having a meditation practice. This does not mean that meditation alone leads to nirvana, but it is a vital component of transforming one's perception of reality. It is telling that the last three aspects of the Eightfold Noble Path refer to the Buddhist practice of meditation. Buddhist meditation deserves a whole separate video, so for now all we must understand is that one needs to train and transform one's mind in order to grasp the deeper teachings of the Buddha. The Buddha was a spirit healer, a mind healer, and meditation is his way of treating the human mind from the infection of ignorance and thirst. One needs to put significant effort into developing mindfulness and concentration so as to see through the false beliefs clouding his judgment. This is right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. The Eightfold Noble Path does not tell you what to do. Rather, it is a description of what a fully awake human being is like. All you can do is try to imitate this description until you are gradually transformed into an awake human being yourself. And the 8 aspects of the path are not sequential. Rather, they all depend on one another. One has right view only if one has right mindfulness. One has right mindfulness only if one has right concentration, and so on.
All right. So the next part here, let me get it to. Thank you for y'all's patience.
Lots of good info here.
Awesome, yeah.
I love your quotes in here.
Say again?
I love all your quotes.
Oh yeah, thank you, thank you. Supposed to let me flip to the next. There we go. I knew if I was just patient, it would eventually. No, you just love the way the divine's always testing you. Just trying to help you get higher every moment. Okay, let's see. We'll start back. Okay, so we'll start that again.
Namaste. So I want to share something with you that can help you during meditations, breath work, mindfulness, just to still your mind, quiet yourself, and allow more access to hear your higher self.
So I'm gonna play it once and then just listen, and then the second time, if we can all just kind of try along with me.
Yogena Tasha Bode Vajra Trabasha Keda Yoga Kurak Din Ram
you're gonna get it right away, but the first part's kind of very catchy. So even if that part just sticks with you a little bit, it's very powerful to help you before you go into meditation, just to try to clear some of the thought side of your mind. You ever found yourself like even just trying to like sit still and focus on studying or something or work, and it's just like, you know, if the energy's not in your mind, it's in your body, and then you got to get up and do something. But this really can just help to ground you and settle that energy. So we'll listen one more time.
Namaste. Stay. So I want to share something with you that can help you during meditations, breath work, mindfulness, just to still your mind, quiet yourself, and allow more access to hear your higher self. Yogena Tasha Bodenu Vajra.
I love that part. And even if you don't get the words right away, just the vibration of your voice, no matter what. So we'll give it one
The
more
words
try.
written down.
Yeah, I need the lyrics.
Yeah. So I did. But I'm just not sure how to pull up where they're underneath this. Like I said, I threw this together to try to get everything on here.
Right.
But this was my first go at it like this. So, but they are on there. They're just not showing up. They're down here. Yeah. There you go. You
Okay.
see them
Oh,
down
at the
there?
very bottom, the little paragraph down there.
Yes.
Okay, there we
Okay.
go.
Yeah, I did. I just did. I'm not quite sure how to work this yet, but
Can I
it's
get a
okay.
picture of that so I can practice it?
Yeah, sure. And I would. Yeah, you absolutely can. And I can
And I can pull
give
it
y'all
here.
the link to.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. So with your
I can do that.
email, I can put you into the course, and every week that you come, you can get this. What the course that I make, you can have it. So you can go back and reflect. So anything that we discuss that's on here, you'll be able to just log in and get each week's.
Okay.
Can you
Yeah,
see
and
it
so
okay?
then if you ever miss a week,
You see it okay on there?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't. I had to blow it up here.
yeah, so if you ever miss a week, that's going to be helpful too, because then it'll catch you up on whatever we discussed.
Just to still your mind.
Okay, so
quiet
we'll
yourself,
try it
and
again.
allow more access to hear your higher self.
And I just spelled it, again, I spelled it the way it sounds versus the actual correct
On
way.
there?
Because I think for
Oh.
humans that's
Oh,
better.
oh,
It's
yeah,
not,
that-
if you
gotcha.
expect it to be exactly
That's
spelled
better.
correctly, I spelled it the way it sounds so that,
Okay.
that it's more helpful.
That does help.
Okay.
Cool.
Yogena Tasha Bodenu Vajra. Shavashati Kena Yopakurattin Rabidam Bodhidam Patanjaliyam.
Kind of getting there.
Awesome. Yeah, and like I said, you'll have it, and then you can use it, and before long, at least the first part you're gonna remember pretty quickly. And the same with me, the second part was, it took a little more time and actually practice to learn it, but the first part, it's got a nice little ring to it, so
It does.
you'll probably find yourself like I was when I was learning it. You'll probably find yourself like it'll just start coming out of you, and you'll be in a situation and you'll be like, "But
Oh, fun.
you know."
Okay.
So all right, so we're gonna. Do you want to do it one more time?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it one more time.
Namaste. So I want to share something. Breath work, mindfulness, just to still your mind, quiet yourself, and allow more access to hear your higher self. Yogena Tasha Bodenu Vajra. Shavashati Kena Yopakurattin Rabidam Bodhidam Patanjaliyam.
clear blockages, financial thoughts, anything like that, anything that's negative that is in your energy field right now that wants to show itself and surface for your highest good is being cleared right now for this. And I'm also going to do a little more here as well. So if there's anything that you just imagine a fire and just like let it be burned up in that fire. The divine is telling me, can I see your receiver hand? It would be your left. Yay. Alright, and so now I would like to tell y'all about, and you actually already may know, Ms. Cheryl, about the infinity breath. It's some breath work that is really great. Not only is it great for before meditation, but if you find in any time during the day that something's kind of getting on you and making you feel kind of not so great, the infinity breath can really, really, really help you. Just even if you just do it just 2 or 3 times, it can really get you grounded and centered and get control back over your energy versus letting environmental stuff kind of drag you around. That's the goal here, is to be like back in our power and enjoyment of life and in harmony and not be, pulled all over the place by everybody else's energies and stuff. Of course, connecting and helping and loving is part of it, but right now the breath work that I'm going to teach you guys right now will help you get yourself back in the now if you ever find that you're getting dragged out of it or dragging yourself out of it.
Right.
So first and foremost, we're going to start by blowing all of our stale energy and air out. And so when you do it though, you want to almost like exaggerate it to where it's almost like where you kind of feel that panicky feeling coming on, but I want you to be aware of that panicky feeling and then hold it. And because you're going to want to like breathe in right away, right? Don't. Hold it, push it all the way to the edge, hold it there, and then calmly breathe in imagine cosmic light, creator light of all different colors, whatever colors you see, but you just want to see just beautiful like light, creator light, and then you're going to breathe that into your essence, and then hold that in the center. And then this time when you do the infinity down loop, you're going to just be mixing your energy back with what you already are, which is that divine creator energy. So then you're just going to flow your energy and your air in and out in such a way. So the first time is the only time you're going to be forcing all that old stale air and energy out. And then, so there's no right or wrong way to do this. It's however your pace is and your pattern, whatever you feel comfortable with. But that first part is very important, to push it to the edge and hold it where you kind of feel that, oh, I gotta breathe in now. You can hold your breath longer than 5 seconds, so you'll be okay. All right, so whenever you're ready, we'll give it a shot. And then after the first round, everybody just drop into your own comfort zone about what feels right to you. So you don't need to try to match up with her or me or whatever. Just do whatever feels right for you. Okay? So like I was saying, if you ever find yourself in a situation, do you feel more calm and grounded now? Like it's quite amazing, right? I opened my eyes back up and I'm like, wait a minute, hey, cool. Yeah, so if you ever find yourself in a situation, just one or two, breaths of the infinity breath, just first of all really reminds you that you're in control of your energy. You're in control of what you let your energy do, and you are the guardian of that. And the only time that that gets out of hand is when we let it get out of hand, right? So we're just taking our power back to be in control of how we're feeling and what we're going to let in and out. So can be used, and you'll probably find yourself using it like quite often. Instead of being like, you might be like, and it might take one or two times, and you'll be like, okay, just maybe even the thought of it might even be able to jump you right back in after a while. But the more, and the more that you find that you're like thinking about the past or trying to like, now I'm not saying don't plan things for your future, because, like I'm saying that you don't want to get caught up in an anxiety or whatever you want to, what I do is I put a rider on all of my manifestations. I'm not going to say I don't have any desires, because I do. I just don't care about the outcome. I trust my path. I trust the support. I trust that the divine, that the group that's surrounding me, specifically helping me on the part of the mission that I'm responsible for, has my best interest and my highest good at heart at all times. And I trust that so very much. So therefore, when I'm thinking about the future and planning things, there's not like this huge anxiety about things because I'm afraid that I might be disappointed. You see the difference? So not casting the spell of disappointment onto your now is the key here. So yeah, yesterday that was now. Then it's now. So we learned what we learned from that moment. We got its blessing if we were in the now. If we didn't, well, guess what? You can, I guess, reflect, but not in a craving type of way. In a way that today I'm going to do better. Kind of today I'm going to not miss out on the now. I'm going to be in the now, and I'm going to focus and enjoy the things I would have missed out on if I wouldn't have participated in the now because I was too busy hanging out in the past or being in the future, being a time traveler. Like, here I am in the now, and so there's so many gifts that you're going to find. And that's the basis of the teachings, is that's where it's at. And no matter where you are and what the now is always, that's something that's not going to change. The now is now. So learning to be present there is really hard for humans because we have a phone, we have our radio going on, and we've got this in the back of our mind, and we've got this going on, this and this. So there's a lot of distractions that can make it real easy not to be in the now. So, but when we remember, get right back to it. So, and then you find that you didn't do so good in your last now, there's this now. So be compassionate and love yourself and do this. You got support. You got a lot of support. Not just me, but like the unseen too. The divine. We got teams of people, of energies that maybe once were people that have gotten to what we're talking about right now, and now they're guardians helping us along. So, and the same, we're all Buddha. It's a nickname. Buddha is a nickname. It means the awoken one. So we all can get to that place, and that's kind of the idea here. Buddhism is not a religion. It's a way of life. It's some guidelines to follow that are proven, and that you can prove to yourself, like science, by doing them and doing little experiments and seeing, wow, today was much better now than my past now. So let me keep doing this because this is making me feel good in this now. So who cares about what happened in the past? I learned a lot from it. And there'll be a point where you'll be like, all that was divine. everything that I used to curse and say was bad, and you need to ask for forgiveness and this, that, and the other, you're going to be like, thank you. Thank you. All that stuff hooked me up because I wouldn't be where I am right now if that didn't happen to me. So there's a growth process here. And your awareness and your thoughts will align as your energy changes. And that's part of the work that I do with people, with Reiki sessions and whatnot. One of the things that I do is helping, first of all, your energy body to rise its energy, cut strings of attachment that are, really draining your energy, but then also help you get your thoughts in alignment with the energy body that you're rising up. So you got to keep your balance going. So I hope everybody enjoyed that part. We got a couple more things. Where to go? Oh yes, let me get it back online though. Hang on here.
Like that breath. Did you feel it too?
I felt it.
Oh, you guys feel some happiness right now, some joy.
It really calmed me.
This is so great.
Simple as a breath. That's pretty cool.
I like that.
It's okay, I'll
I'm there
try
all the
again.
time.
I'll try again. Okay, big one.
Positive expectations. Expectations is a powerful attractive force. Expect the things you want, and don't expect the things you don't want. From the perspective of the law of attraction, what you resist, you attract, because you are powerfully focusing on it with an emotion. So if there are things that you don't want in your life, and you keep resisting them by constantly thinking that you don't want them, you'll actually either bring them into your life or keep them there. Pontificate this for a while today and see how it might help you in your life. Also become part of the family by joining the channel. Like and share.
All right, awesome. And I'm absolutely just loving this because I made this like a while back, but Buddha's right there. So I don't know if I shared this with you guys before, but I didn't study Buddhism to come into the knowings that I have. I discovered them in my path, and I was teaching them as a spiritual teacher, and then I realized this is also what Buddha taught. So it was a very beautiful way, but there's so many things in my work that I'm looking back on, and I see that the Buddha's always been there. Like a few things, it happened, so I have an e-course called How to Have Your Spiritual Awakening, Lessons of Ascended Masters and Archangels, and I channeled a lot of the information in there, and but I was looking at some of the work, and on the front page, Buddha right there, and I'm like, I just didn't.
How long ago was that when you created that?
2020.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
that's-
Yeah. So yeah, but it was that's when I completed it, but it was a lot of work in the
Before that,
process.
Okay.
But that's when it came out, when I actually made the cover for it and
Right.
whatnot. And so I just am just so tickled how that works. So like what I'm saying is you can trust the process. Maybe you might not know in the moment what it's all going to equal, but then when you look back and say, oh, okay, I see the steps that I took to get to this spot. Wow, okay, there, my support was there all along.
Right.
So yes, so I chose this, and I have the Reiki healing in the mind. I have the whole. So basically, it's like a 3-month transformational thing, like giving out the one message a day for people to follow to try to get in more in alignment with their thoughts and with their energy. And so, but I chose this specific one today, because Buddhism in general, we talked about this, speaks to not having expectations.
Mhm.
But if you really get into that a little bit deeper, it's about not ruining everything with your expectations. Not ruining all your nows and like being like a little spoiled brat because it's not like exactly the same way as this last experience is. It's meant to be different. So yeah, but the way that we can help ourselves in that way is keeping our thoughts, focused on what we really do want to experience rather than complaining and thinking and letting our brain go back to, oh, well, it wasn't like this or whatever, because you're still focusing on that negative aspect. So anytime you can find the positive, and that's where you put your attention and, do the breath work, do whatever you can to chant, whatever you can to get yourself out of focusing on that negative just by transferring your attention. Because the more that you spend in the negative aspect, you're really basically shining a light saying, hey, I need more of this lower vibrational energy. And instead of getting the point, which is you start asking, you shall receive. You start asking for more positive outcomes by what you're thinking and what you're telling yourself, then you're going to get it. That's just the way eventually it's going to come to fruition. It might not be exactly how you think, but you got to be okay with that part to let it be for your highest good. All right, and so I think that is
This is your great healing of the mind with
we're
others.
getting close here.
Namaste.
And then I'm going to open up after this last little bit. I'm going to open up for any questions that you might have. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so any questions about what we specifically talked about today? Any comments?
Oh, this is very good information. Gosh, that situation that happened this morning, and I guess when I get in the situation that I don't want, I tend, most of the time, to forget that I have tools in my pocket to do in that moment. So I tend to kind of just be with it and just suppress it and sit in it. And later on, it's like, wait a minute, why did I do that? I had tools in that moment. Get out of it. It's almost like I think I'm in it and I'm feeling that way that it's going to change something. I don't know what that is about. But it's definitely my intention in every moment to be aware of my thoughts, my feelings, my emotions, and I'm going to alchemize it. And I know through those tools that I have, I can alchemize those unwanted emotions, not even unwanted, but feelings that aren't love, and just let it go.
Right.
So I'm practicing that every day now, all the time.
Awesome.
I'm getting better and better.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for sharing, Cheryl.
Oh,
Yeah, it's like I said, it's always we have to continually steward ourselves,
Mhm.
and not to say that once you get really good at finding like, oh, now this is kind of replaced, now this is more of my habit to be in this higher energy, but not say that something's not going to come along and try to see if you're going to fall back, but I can guarantee you when that happens, you're close to a level up of energy,
yeah,
because there would be no reason to test you again if you had been doing on your path, unless you were about to come into the next kind of phase of the teachings that are gonna. So essentially, the divine will, like, the teacher comes when the student is ready. Is the
Yes.
best way I can say it.
that is so true. Yeah, very, very, very true.
So with that being said, if you find that you're doing really good and then something happens and you see, same old stuff came back up again, I thought I was, through that cycle, just welcome it and say, yay, and like put on your little graduation hat.
There's life happening.
Yeah,
here.
and even if it throws you back and you're like, oh, I fell for that.
Yep.
Guess what? Tomorrow you can do better.
Mhm.
And it's surely not going to take you that long to get back on track for another test to come up, and then, by that time you'll be like, I'm not failing this one. I got this.
Exactly.
So yeah, like I said, we're not being picked on.
Right.
The suffering is literally to wake us up and to give us that choice. If things were just kind of so, not, if it was just in the middle, it wasn't real uncomfortable, but it wasn't real pleasant, we would have no reason to want to change anything.
True.
And it's not so much about, changing, it's just about being in the actual flow and in the actual now, because that's where everything is divine. That is where what I would call heaven on earth is being okay and happy in the place that you are with the things that you have, and receiving the gifts and the blessings, and instead of waiting for something else and always waiting, learning how to be in that pleasant, happy, joyful, sinful place can happen for everyone that just does the work with themselves to make sure that you can hold that energy for yourself and stay in that nowness.
Exactly.
So
I'm gonna see it as a game then. When it pops up, I'm just gonna say, "Oh, thank you. You showed me I'm out of alignment. Okay,
Yes.
let this go."
exactly,
It just
yes,
came
like
to me
be
just
just
now,
as
like,
excited
oh,
about it
Exactly.
as you would be of something else that you would consider
Because
good.
for me,
Because that
not
means
to
that
me.
you're labeling things still. You're still doing a judgment. It might not be as strong as before, but you still
Right.
kind of are. So yeah, thank you for reminding me. Very cool.
Mhm.
I love
Let
that.
be
Yeah.
for me and not to me.
Exactly. Awesome.
And take me one more time through the infinity breath. I know, I see why they call it infinity, because you're going like an infinity sound when
Yes.
you're breathing. And when you go through the full breath, you stop and you take a little bit of your own. How do that
So,
second part?
essentially, okay, so the idea when you're breathing out all your stale energy
Yes,
and air, and then you start to breathe in the cosmic creator light, well, guess what? That's you.
That's me.
You are, but you might not be filled with it because you just had to breathe.
Fluid.
Yeah, so what you're doing is connecting back with it,
Okay.
and then remembering that you are it, and then you're just mixing your it back in.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the idea of it.
Gotcha.
So the only time you wouldn't be doing that is when you're kind of getting rid of all that stuff that you've collected, kind of like you take a shower,
Mhm.
to wash off the dirt off of you.
Right.
Similar situation with that first loop. The first down
Okay.
loop is almost like your energy shower
Okay.
of getting all the dirt out, the what you've collected through
Right.
not even just your own thoughts, so like just other people's energy around you and stuff.
Right.
Because we are always, you can't keep energy from connecting. It's just we always connected.
So question then, if it's an infinity loop, how is it going out of you? Or is it-
What you're doing is when you're blowing it out,
right.
naturally the
Oh, the
divine
blowing
takes.
out part.
Yeah,
It
it's not
takes
like
it from you.
you're blowing
Okay.
like a fire breath on somebody and
Gotcha.
you're like sending it. No,
Right.
automatically the divine is already cleaning up that. So
Okay.
what you're giving and like nothing is wasted. So that's already being
Okay.
you no longer need it, and you've
Recycled.
released it, just like when I'm doing Reiki sessions.
Uh-huh.
When I cut cords of attachment, the cords don't just go find somebody else to jump on.
Yes.
They go into a new energy for creation, for a brand new creation. So they get a rebirth.
Okay.
So they don't go out of here, you bad thing. It's not
Right.
like that.
Okay.
It's releasing, so it's also brand new again as well, and the person is free from that. And what remains is the lesson and the blessing, and that may come within a couple of days. They might get an aha moment. Within a month. There's no certain time.
Right.
It's just in divine timing.
Mhm.
But so whatever they release, you'll have an awareness, something that will come to you. You'll be like, oh, this is what I learned from that situation. So sometimes you can't get the blessing until you have released certain things, because we're holding too tight on it because we're afraid to change or let go of something. So that's more fear-based, right? So that once we release that thing, that's when we can get the blessing afterwards of how it helped us out, was a teacher for us, in essence. But as the the energy goes out of the air, the same as I was speaking about the core. It's free now. It's new creation. It's for some of us to decide. Oh, I want to create this, or this is what I'm going to do with it. So, but like I like to say, it's new earth,
Right.
new earth soil. It becomes a new earth plant of creation. So, yeah,
Love that. Thank you.
awesome. All right, so if there's nothing else from anyone here today, I just want to say that I love you all, and I hope that you put a lot of time and energy into more time and energy than you do for anything else in your self-love and awareness of who you are, the way you're feeling, and moreover, that you have some control over what's going on in your life if you just start to be aware of that and do the work that it takes to get yourself back in that place that we've been talking about, which is the now. So, yes.
And you're gonna send us the
Yeah,
the
I've got
mantra.
your emails on there,
Okay,
so I can
perfect.
send you a link.
Okay,
And on some of the, like when you push some of the buttons or whatnot, you might not get the like just a little
Oh,
clip.
okay,
You
right.
might get the full
The full
video of each one.
Gotcha.
So if you
That's
do,
okay.
just enjoy that too. But you can always, stop it where you want or whatnot, and then go to the next one.
Okay.
It's pretty easy to navigate through.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for coming so much. And Namaste. Awesome. Turn this off. I don't know how. I never know how
I
to
said
end
this
it.
morning, I said, nah, I must stay in bed.
No, you're funny. Okay. Awesome.